Okay, so you want to own a casino. You picture the floor at midnight. The lights, the noise, the little electronic songs the slot machines play when somebody hits. You watch a guy across the room lose $800 in 20 minutes without blinking. And somewhere in the back of your head a thought forms. The house always wins. You've heard it your whole life. So the math seems obvious. Own the house. Own the winning. Print money forever. Do that math quickly enough, and owning a casino starts to feel less like a gamble and more like the only sure thing left on Earth. But here's the part nobody explains while you're standing at the roulette wheel. The house does not win because it gets lucky. The house wins because of a rule of mathematics so boring that casinos are built entirely on top of it, and almost no player ever thinks about it. And it turns out that the house always wins is only true if you can survive long enough to let it become true. Most of the money, the real money, isn't even coming from where you think it is. The global casino industry is enormous. In the state of Nevada alone, casinos won over $15 billion from players in a single record year. And someone is clearly getting rich. The question is who, and how the entire machine actually works from the inside. To understand that, we have to start with the smallest thing on the floor, a single bet. Every game in a casino is built around one number. It's called the house edge. It is the tiny, permanent mathematical advantage the casino holds on every single wager, whether you win that particular hand or not. On American roulette, that edge is about 5.26%. On the games people think they can beat, like blackjack played perfectly, it can be under 1%. On slot machines, it typically runs anywhere from 2 to 15%, and the player almost never knows which machine is which. That's the whole trick. The edge is small enough that you win often enough to keep playing, and large enough that over millions of bets, the outcome is not in doubt. And that phrase, over millions of bets, is the entire business. This is the law of large numbers, and it's the closest thing to a law of physics the casino owns. On any single spin, anything can happen. You can walk in, put $100 on red, win, and leave. The casino cannot stop you, but the casino is not playing against you. It is playing against everybody, all day, every day, forever. And across a large enough number of bets, the results stop being random and start being a schedule. A slot machine doesn't hope to win. It is scheduled to win. On average, a single machine on a busy floor can pull in a couple $100 a day, every day, and the casino knows that number before the year even begins. So the casino isn't gambling, the players are gambling. The casino is running a math problem with a guaranteed answer and just collecting the difference. More on why that changes everything later. The critical thing to understand right now is this. The gambling is not really the product. The product is time. The casino's only job is to keep you seated and betting for as long as humanly possible. Because every extra minute you play drags your results closer to that guaranteed average. This is why there are no clocks, no windows. Why the carpet is loud and ugly, so you look up at the machines instead of down at your feet. Why a cocktail waitress appears the moment you sit down. Why the exit is never where you expect it. None of that is decoration. It's engineering. It's the physical form of the law of large numbers, built out of carpet and light. Now here's where it gets strange, because you'd assume the gaming floor is where a modern casino makes its money. It used to be. On the Las Vegas Strip, gambling once made up the majority of revenue. Today it's flipped completely. Gaming now accounts for only around a third of total revenue on the Strip. The other 2/3 comes from the hotel rooms, the restaurants, the nightclubs, the concerts, the boxing matches, the shopping. The casino floor has quietly become the loss leader. It's the bait. The building around it is where the profit moved. Think about what that means. The $9 bottle of water in your room, the $300 suite, the $40 breakfast, the nightclub charging you $100 just to walk in. All of that exists because the casino floor got you into the building in the first place. The gambling is the reason you come. Everything else is the reason the company survives. Then there's the customer nobody talks about openly, the whale. In gambling, a small number of players generate a wildly disproportionate share of the take. A true high roller might carry a credit line of $1 million or more and lose hundreds of thousands in a weekend. And the casino treats these people like heads of state, because mathematically, they nearly are. Private jets, free penthouse suites, a personal host on call at all hours. It looks like generosity. It's arithmetic. If a player's expected loss over a trip is $200,000, the casino can hand him $50,000 in free flights, rooms, and food, and still walk away enormously ahead. The industry has a word for this. Comps. Complementaries. And they are not gifts. They are the cost of keeping the most profitable customers on the floor. Now let's talk about where a casino is even allowed to exist. Because you can't just buy a building and deal cards. This might be the most regulated business in the country outside of nuclear power. In most American states, you cannot own so much as a single slot machine without passing through a gaming commission that investigates your finances, your background, and everyone you're in business with. In Ohio, for example, a casino operator faces a $1.5 million application fee, a $50 million upfront license fee, and a required minimum investment of $250 million just to open the doors. That is not a typo. Before you have taken a single bet, the state has already required you to prove you can spend $250 million. And once you're open, the state never leaves. In Nevada, casinos pay a gross gaming tax that climbs to 6.75% on their winnings. In other states, that rate can run far higher. The government is, in a very real sense, your silent partner, and it takes its cut off the top of every dollar the house wins, whether you had a good year or a catastrophic one. Here's what makes that terrifying. Building the casino itself is monstrously expensive. A small local casino might cost a few $1,000,000, but a full strip resort, the kind with the fountains and the towers, routinely costs between $2 and $7 billion to build. Billion. That money is spent up front, in concrete and steel and marble, years before the first guest ever arrives. So the owner is committing billions of dollars, betting that the law of large numbers will pay it all back, one grinding percentage point at a time. The house edge is tiny. The bet the owner is making on that edge is the biggest one in the building. Let me walk you through a single day on a real floor, because the daily rhythm is where the money is either made or quietly lost. Mornings are slow and cheap to run, mostly older locals and loyalty card regulars feeding the slots. By afternoon, the tables warm up. But the real engine is night. The floor fills, the alcohol flows, and here is the cruel little detail. Free drinks are not kindness. Alcohol reduces judgment and slows a player's ability to quit while ahead. A player who would have walked away with a $100 win instead keeps betting, and the law of large numbers goes back to work. By the early hours, the floor is running on the most valuable customers of all, the ones who have lost track of time entirely. That, precisely, is the goal. Volume is everything. The building costs the same whether the floor is packed or empty. The mortgage on $2 billion of construction doesn't care how many people showed up on a Tuesday. The staff, the electricity, the security, the surveillance, that's all fixed. The casino only wins when enough bets flow across enough tables and machines to push past the point where the lights pay for themselves, and then keeps going all night. Which brings us to the biggest cost in the whole operation: the people. A major resort employs thousands: dealers, security, surveillance, housekeeping, cooks, valets, entertainers. Payroll is the single heaviest line on the sheet, and it never stops, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Add the taxes, the licensing, the insurance, the utilities of a building the size of a small city, and you begin to see why casinos are far more fragile than the flashing lights suggest. Now let me tell you about the most quietly brilliant thing a casino ever built, and it has almost nothing to do with the games: the loyalty card. The Players Club. You've seen people slot that little card into the machine before they play. Here's what's actually happening. The moment you insert that card, the casino begins recording everything. Every bet, every game, how long you sit, how fast you play, how much you win, and far more precisely, how much you're expected to lose. From that data, the casino calculates a number for you personally, your theoretical loss, your value. And every comp you ever receive, every free buffet, every discounted room, is calibrated against that number to the penny. The player thinks they're collecting points toward a free meal. What they're actually doing is handing the casino a perfect map of their own behavior and volunteering to be measured. It's one of the most sophisticated customer tracking systems in any industry on the planet, and people happily opt into it for the promise of a discounted breakfast. Now let's talk about what happens when it all goes wrong, because this business is nowhere near as stable as those endless lights make it look. Start with the obvious. A casino cannot move. It's a multi-billion-dollar building bolted to one spot, and it lives or dies on how many people walk through the door. When a recession hits, discretionary spending is the first thing people cut, and a weekend in a casino is about as discretionary as spending gets. When travel collapses, the floor empties, but the mortgage on those billions of dollars of construction does not pause for a single day. Then there's competition, and it's brutal. For decades, if you wanted to gamble, you had to travel to a handful of cities. That monopoly is gone. Casinos have spread to nearly every state. And then came the phone in your pocket. Online betting and mobile casinos now let anyone gamble from their couch, with no flight, no room, no drive. The single greatest asset a physical casino owns, its location, is being slowly undercut by an app that has no location at all. And here's the deepest vulnerability, the one baked right into the math. The law of large numbers protects you over the long run, but it does absolutely nothing for you tonight. On any given evening, a whale can walk in and win $2 million, and the casino has no choice but to pay it. Over a year that evens out. But casinos have real, documented quarters where a handful of high rollers got hot at the same time and gutted the earnings of an entire billion-dollar resort. The edge is a promise about the future. It offers no shelter in the present. So what does the business actually look like when you add it all up? An owner spends anywhere from a few million to several billion dollars building a fortress, then hands the government a fortune for permission to open it, then pays thousands of employees around the clock, then gives away rooms, flights, and meals to the very players losing the most money, then waits, night after night, for a tiny mathematical edge to grind out enough profit to pay all of it back. When the volume is high and the economy is strong, it is one of the most profitable businesses ever devised by human beings. When the volume drops, it is one of the fastest ways to lose a fortune ever invented. So how would you actually get in, if you wanted to? For almost anyone, the direct path is closed. The licensing, the capital, the regulatory gauntlet, it's built specifically to keep out all but the largest and best-funded operators on Earth. The realistic way in is the same one available for Starbucks or Apple. You buy the stock. Companies like MGM and Caesars trade publicly, and owning a share means owning a proportional slice of every table, every machine, every hotel tower, without ever having to pass a background check or make a payroll. There's also the property play, owning the land or the real estate a casino operates on, and collecting rent from an operator who takes all the gambling risk while you simply hold the ground beneath them. But the biggest lesson from the casino isn't about the games at all. It's about what the house is really selling. Because the house is not selling the chance to win. It's selling the feeling of a chance to win. In a room engineered so that time disappears, and the odds are always, quietly, tilted the other way. The genius was never in beating the players. It was in building a machine so patient that it doesn't need to beat anyone. It only needs to wait. Every drink, every comp, every clockless wall, every loyalty card exists to buy one thing: more time on the floor. And the more time it buys, the more certain the outcome becomes. The casino is not in the gambling business. It never was. It's in the certainty business. It takes the one thing human beings find most thrilling, pure uncertainty, and quietly sells it back to them inside a building where the ending is already written. Build a machine that turns other people's hope into your own arithmetic, and you haven't just built a game, you've built a business that, given enough time, cannot lose.